So Act 2, Scene 2, still in Macbeth's castle, Lady Macbeth enters. And what I'm going to do is just read the modern translation. If you want to line it up with the original, do pick up the ebook. So Lady Macbeth says, "The alcohol that I used to get the guards drunk has lifted my courage. That which made them lifeless and asleep has given me courage and desire to do the deed. Quiet, listen." It was the owl that shrieked like the man who rings the bell before someone is executed. Macbeth is doing it. The doors are open, and the servants who have drunk so much are mocking their duty by being asleep. I've drugged their drinks so that nobody can tell if they were alive or dead. Then Macbeth, off stage, asks, "Who's there? What is it?" Lady Macbeth answers, "Oh no, I'm afraid they've been woken up, and the murder hasn't been completed. It is the attempted murder and not the murder itself that will get us into trouble. What's that noise? I put the servants' daggers where Macbeth could not miss them. If Duncan hadn't looked like my father while he was sleeping, I would have done it myself." Now, I analysed that scene in detail, or that line in detail, in the ebook. But Macbeth comes in, and Lady Macbeth says, "My husband." Macbeth says, "I have murdered him. Did you hear that noise?" Lady Macbeth replies, "I heard an owl shriek and I heard crickets chirping. Did you not say something?" Macbeth says, "When?" Lady Macbeth says, "Just now." "As I was coming down?" "Yes." "Listen. Who is sleeping in the second room?" Lady Macbeth says, "Donalbain, Duncan's son." Macbeth says, "This is a sorry sight," and he's looking at his hands. And then Lady Macbeth says, "You're being silly to say it's a sorry sight." Macbeth says, "One of the servants laughed in his sleep and another one cried out murder. That woke the other one. I stood and listened to them, but they just said their prayers and went back to sleep." Lady Macbeth said, "There are two people in the same room. That's Malcolm and Donalbain." Macbeth says, "One cried, 'God bless us,' and the other said, 'Amen,' as though they had seen me murdering Duncan. Listening to their fear, I was unable to say amen when he said, 'God bless us.'" Lady Macbeth basically says, "Don't think about it so much." And Macbeth says, "But why couldn't I say amen? I really needed a blessing, and the word amen stuck in my throat. I couldn't say it." Lady Macbeth says, "We should not think about what we have done like this. It will make us go mad." Bit of foreshadowing there. Macbeth says, "I thought I heard a voice saying, 'Sleep no more. Macbeth has murdered sleep. The innocent sleeps. That helps us get our thoughts together, the sleep we go to at the end of each day, the sleep that soothes tired workers and hurt minds, sleep, the main part of life's great feast and the most nourishing.'" And Lady Macbeth asks, "What do you mean by all this?" Macbeth says, "Still the voice cried, 'Sleep no more,' all over the house. Glamis has murdered sleep, and because of this, Cawdor will no longer be able to sleep. Macbeth will no longer be able to sleep." Lady Macbeth is worried now about Macbeth and says, "Who was it that said this?" "Why, worthy lord, you will make yourself weak to think about these things. Go and get some water and wash this blood that acts like a witness to your crime from your hand. Why did you bring these daggers from the place of the murder? They must stay there. Go and bring them back and smear the sleepy servants with the blood from them." So it seems that Macbeth, despite all his bravery, is kind of losing the plot here a bit, doesn't it? Lady Macbeth is trying to bring it back, rationalise it, saying, "Go and let's sort this out." But Macbeth refuses. He says, "No, I won't go back there. I'm afraid to think about what I've done, let alone look at it." And this is where Lady Macbeth goes back to what she's so good at, totally berating her husband. "You weakling, give me the daggers then. A dead person looks just the same as a sleeping person, and both look like pictures. It's only children who are afraid of these sorts of pictures. If Duncan bleeds, I'll cover the faces of the servants with his blood. It has to look as if they're guilty." And then she leaves, and there's a knocking noise. And Macbeth asks, "Where is that knocking coming from? How is it that every noise I hear frightens me? Whose hands are these? Ha! They try to pluck out my eyes. Will all of great Neptune's ocean be able to wash this blood from my hands? No. It's more likely my hands will turn the massive seas from green to red." Back comes Lady Macbeth. And Lady Macbeth says, "My hands are red like yours, but I would be ashamed if my heart were as white as yours," meaning cowardly. More knocking. She says, "I hear a knocking at the south door. Let's go to our bedroom. A little water will take the blood off and it will appear like we never did it. How easy is that? You've lost your composure." More knocking. "Listen. More knocking. Get your nightgown on in case we're called and people see that we're out. Out of bed. Stop being lost in your thoughts. Macbeth says, knowing what I've done, I wish I couldn't recognise myself, because then I wouldn't have to condemn myself. There's more knocking. And wake Duncan with your knocking, says Macbeth. I wish you could. But of course, wishing isn't going to get them anywhere at this point, because Duncan is dead. If you found this useful, please do give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for hundreds more videos just like this.